Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Sam, the Intake Department Manager here at ACRC Global, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. One of the biggest questions we hear from future surrogates is what actually happens during the screening process. Many people imagine it's just one doctor's appointment or a stack of paperwork, but there's actually a lot more involved. Every step has a purpose, and ultimately, it's all about creating the safest and most successful journey possible for the surrogate, the baby, and the intended parents. So, today we're going to pull back the curtain and walk through exactly what happens during the intake process. Joining me today is Courtney. She's from our medical records team. She works behind the scenes every day, reviewing our applicants' medical history and helping to determine whether somebody is medically ready to move forward. Hi, Courtney. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi. Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's start by introducing you. Can you tell everyone a little bit about your role at ACRC and what your day to day looks like?
Yeah, so I am an analyst with the company. I speak with surrogates, going over their medical history, their pregnancy histories, and we figure out sometimes where their locations were, and then I request the records. And once they come in, we review them, we go over everything. We're looking for their prenatal history. And then I send a review over to the intake team and I give them my professional opinion on what I think is in the records.
Perfect. All right. And so, for someone who's just beginning the application process, at what point do they actually start working with you?
Pretty soon after they go through the intake process, I believe, is when they get introduced to me and we kind of go over their medical history again, just like verifying locations, dates of service, dates of birth. So
Yeah.
I'd say very early on.
Yeah, you definitely want to follow behind intake just to make sure that we've gotten all the information correctly, all the dates right, the locations, phone numbers. Like, we definitely rely on you guys to just kind of circle back and make sure that we have gotten the correct information. But can you explain why reviewing medical records is such an important part about becoming a surrogate?
Well, I always say it's funny, like it's like their resume for this position as a gestational surrogate or carrier. We want to make sure that their pregnancies were healthy and complication free for, the babies that they potentially will be carrying, for, staying safe and healthy for their current children that they have in line, and for the intended parents and what they're putting forward into this journey themselves. We want to make sure everybody's healthy and that there would be a positive, good outcome.
Perfect. All right. So let's dive into medical records because I know this is where many applicants have their questions. So, what kinds of medical records do you usually request?
Well, I'm requesting prenatal records that go back 9 months prior to the delivery date. In those we look for, blood work, fundal heights, gestational diabetes screenings. That's like the glucose tolerant test stuff. We're
Yeah.
looking for their most up-to-date pap smear, STD testing, and most of the time we're looking for postpartum care as well, just to make sure everything was handled well after delivery.
Okay. So, why do we ask for records from prenatal care, labor, and delivery, and sometimes even other healthcare providers? Like, what is the whole purpose of that?
Well, we want like a full scope of their what happens to them while they're pregnant, how their body handles the pregnancies, how the babies, grow and maintaining how they're healthy, how they go on being pregnant. Because again, like I said, it's like their resume because we want to see how they would do as a surrogate for somebody else.
Some women might think, I've had healthy pregnancies, so why do you need to look at my records? Can you explain why we still review everything, even though someone says, I've had no major complications?
Sometimes people can also forget that they've had complications. I know that I've had that happen in one of my pregnancies that I forgot something that happened. And we take the records and we collect them to make sure we have everything that's important and pertinent. and we give those to the clinic. So they need those regardless if, they remember everything and they are prepared and they know all their information. We still have to acquire those records to give them to the clinics.
Okay, so that makes absolute sense. Now, what happens if some records are missing or additional information is needed?
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we get surrogates that have had pregnancies, over 10 years ago. And it depends state to state what facilities timeline is on when they I wouldn't say destroy, but like maybe put their records into holding, or they do remove those records from their websites or their is it EMR medical record systems, I think is what it's called. So
Yeah.
sometimes they don't have them, or sometimes they might forget where they were. They had multiple pregnancies. Sometimes it's easy to forget that information. So in those cases, we would try to look through what records we do get to see if there was any mention of the facilities, or try to work with the surrogate again to try to find those names of things. And in the case where they don't, I believe we do have to look for some kind of clearance for them.
Perfect. Okay. And finally, approximately how long does this part of the process usually take?
I wish I had a great answer for that. I don't. Sometimes it takes a day, which is wonderful, and everybody gets so excited when that happens. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. It generally is what the facility is their standard practice. Sometimes, like I said, they have a standard turnaround time of like 14 business days. It also depends on the number of requests that they're receiving and, the first in, first out system. But we do call after about a week, we do start calling to check the status of the records to try to put a little fire under them to get it going faster.
Okay, that makes complete sense. All right. So another important step during the vetting process is the background check. So can you explain why we include background checks as part of the surrogate screening?
Well, I think it's important to know what kind of character, there is, if there's any things that might have happened in their past that would raise concern for intended parents, having chosen that surrogate. They want to make sure everything is copacetic.
Okay. And is that the only person that we're doing a background check, or is there somebody else that
No.
potentially could be having have that done?
So it's for the surrogate and their partner, their husband or partner, or whom they live with as well.
Perfect. Awesome. I know it's kind of it varies for everybody, but like what exactly are you checking for in those background checks?
Well, I'm looking to see and hopefully see no flags, and then I put it
Yeah.
in their folder. But
Yeah.
sometimes there are some things that happen, like maybe DWI or domestic violence that could cause concern for people trying to do this, maybe hiring the surrogate. So they just want to make sure everything is safe and honest and be able to move forward without any concerns.
Yeah, and I think also we all, want to make sure that we have a level of transparency. If
Trust,
there's
yeah,
something, yeah, trust and transparency in terms of the intended parents, because, there might be something on a background check that is minor that we could potentially work with, but we do want the intended parents to have that information so that they can make their own decision whether that's something that they're comfortable with.
I
So I guess
agree.
that kind of goes along the lines of like, if someone has a minor offense from years ago, does that automatically mean that they won't qualify?
No, no,
Yeah.
no. It just means that they would have to be, like you said, transparent and let them know so that when the intended parents are going through the matching process, they have the full scope of what they're working with.
Perfect. So let's move on to the next step in the surrogate screening process, which is the drug and nicotine screening. So, can you explain to me how the at home screening process works?
Yeah, of course. We send out a kit in the mail for the surrogate in question and her partner as well. Once they get the kit, they let me know that they've received it, and we set up a time that's comfortable and flexible for both of us. And then we get on a call together and we take the screening together. They dip a couple of sticks and they send pictures, and then we take a quick little tour of their living environment.
Perfect. So if someone recently quit smoking or vaping, what should they know before completing this screening?
That they would need to pass the screening. That the test would indicate whether they've been in contact with nicotine, and if so, they would have to provide negative results in order to proceed. Because
Perfect. Okay.
obviously nicotine, you can't smoke while you're pregnant. With
No, absolutely not.
exposure.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a good one. I'm not sure if you will know the answer to that. And if you don't, that's totally fine. I can kind of jump in on that. But what happens if a partner tests positive for nicotine or marijuana?
So I'm not actually familiar with that
Yeah.
part of it.
Okay, I'll jump in and answer that one just because I know that there are surrogates that probably would like to know that information. So, again, it really just boils down to transparency. So, we will still do a drug and nicotine screening on a partner, just so, again, we have that information to share with intended parents and just to put on their profile, like, hey, yes, this person tested negative. They clearly don't have anything in their bloodstream or in their urine test, but their partner does, and they clearly don't smoke around them because their test came back negative. But we also want them just to be very aware that there is somebody in their life that does partake in either nicotine or marijuana. Okay, so just wanted to kind of throw that in there. Didn't mean to throw you on the spot, but I do think that
No,
part
that's
was
okay. It's good to know.
yeah. Yeah. And I do think it's important for the surrogates to understand because I don't want them to get like discouraged and think, oh no, my partner does this or my partner does that. I'm not going to qualify. Every case is different. Every intended parent is different, but we will want to have that transparency. Okay. So then another question that some surrogates are worried about is this part of the process difficult or invasive?
The medical record process,
No, no, no. The drug and nicotine.
the nicotine screening.
Yeah.
No, super easy, very quick. It's not intrusive. It's almost friendly. We laugh, we talk, we take the
Yeah.
test quick, and then it's over. I would say it's probably the easiest and quickest part of the whole process.
Perfect. Yeah, love that. We definitely don't want you to feel, nervous or shunned
No.
away or anything like that. We try to make the whole part of the process of the vetting like fun and
So we've been talking, we've
engaging
been
and
texting. We've
yeah,
had a rapport built. It's not like I'm a stranger coming in and watching things. I think it's pretty easy.
yeah, makes sense. Okay. So let's talk about something that people are often curious about with the home environment check. So what exactly does that look like?
So again, it's just a quick little video. They walk me into like their kitchen, their living room. I always seem to find something I love about someone's house. And I'm like, oh my God, where'd you get that pillow? This is so cute. It's just we were really looking for safety. Just want to make sure everything is safe and legitimate and that they live in a home that is, like I said, safe.
Perfect. Okay. Do applicants need to have a perfectly dedicated or hold on. Do applicants need to have a perfectly decorated or spotless house?
Does anybody have a perfectly decorated or spotless house? No,
Valid,
again, we're
very
looking
valid
for a
point.
loving, yeah, we're looking for a loving home, a family home. Make sure the kids it looks like a home that, is safe, comfortable, loving, warm, inviting. Nothing, I've never seen anything that would say no at this point. I think just, like I said, a comfortable home.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely not judging. There's no judgment.
No,
We're all moms and we know that life can get a little chaotic and
exactly.
nobody's expecting you to be out of better homes and gardens. Like we're not expecting that at all.
No.
Okay. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about the home check?
Probably that they feel it's necessary to have, a type A home with everything in order and neat. And it's just not the case. We're looking for, obviously you can't live in a car, right? So we want to make sure you're
Yeah.
living in a home and that you're, you know, that is warm, inviting, and the kids seem that they would be happy in their home. We don't want to look
Yeah.
for anything that would be sad.
The next question was if you notice something that could be improved on, what would happen next?
I would probably go to the intake manager and just, hey, listen, I noticed this thing. And I would assume I haven't had that happen yet, but I would assume, hey, maybe this was a concern, and probably work through it with them. And most likely it would be something that could probably be fixed.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that, as intake, we are still working on a relationship with them as well. So I feel like something to that extent, they would probably feel a little bit more comfortable with us talking about it with them. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously it's uncomfortable, but like you said, I've never had anything that has come up at this point. So thankfully we've had a lot of very
Right.
responsible surrogates and all of that. But yeah, I think we would definitely take over at that point. So
Thank you.
all right. So, since you work with so many applicants, I'm sure you've heard just about every question. So, what are some of the biggest concerns that surrogates have before they begin working with you?
I don't really get a lot of concerns, but I'd say the most asked question is how long is this going to take? Will this take a long time? And and maybe I had this complication, I just don't remember. And I reassure them that I will let them know when I get the records. If I have any questions, I will reach out and ask them, hey, I saw this, was this a thing? Because sometimes, there are mistakes.
Yeah. So, if there was one thing that you wish every future surrogate would know before they started the screening process, what would that be?
Oh gosh. Probably that this is it takes time, and that I wish I could say this will be happening in 2 days. Just to know that I request the records and I want them here just as fast as they want them here. So, wish they knew that it could take, 2 days to 60 days sometimes, and be understanding to that.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the common reasons why the process would get delayed?
Probably I see the most if they write down the wrong facility, or if sometimes OB facilities are affiliated with the hospital system and it's the same hospital system as the OB, but it's a different OB. Um, Maybe when they have different last name, like if they were married and divorced, and so their married names on the records, or if they were married, their maiden name is attached to the records. And maybe like the birth years, like verifying the date of birth that they have their babies. Sometimes those can be delayed if I request records and I have the wrong information. Then they send me back a notice saying that the dates don't match, and then I have to re-request them.
Okay. So then I'm assuming that given all that information, helping you to move like, hold on. I don't know how to ask this question because you kind of like already answered it. Um, so given all that, hopefully this will help to expedite the process. But is there anything that the applicants can do to help move the process along as smoothly as possible?
If they can come with their records or help us when we are having a delay with retrieving their records, that would definitely be helpful. And for sure, letting me have all of the correct information, because I know a lot of times it's information overload. So sometimes I feel like that can be misunderstood, or questions can be maybe not answered correctly.
Got it. Okay.
Does that make sense?
So yeah, no, totally makes sense. All right. So we've talked about all the individual steps, but I'd love to zoom out a little. How does this entire screening process help to protect the surrogate?
So obviously surrogates are moms and they have babies. And I know that wanting to help people, sometimes we can put ourselves last. So I would say making sure that their pregnancies are healthy and that they could continue to have another healthy pregnancy would be the most important thing, because first and foremost, they're a mom and they shouldn't jeopardize their babies if there are any complications.
Got it. And then, so how do you think that this would benefit the intended parents?
Same scenario, that we are vetting our surrogates and verifying that they are healthy enough to carry a surrogate pregnancy, so that
Yeah.
if there were any potential concerns that could have been avoided, that we did the due diligence and found that prior to their clinical screenings.
Awesome. Okay. And then the last question over here is how does your work help create stronger and more successful matches?
I would say by verifying information and giving correct information and making sure that everything is truthful, present, honest, safe, upfront, so that that is done and over with and they don't have to worry about that moving forward.
Yeah. And also, us making sure that everything is good in the medical records to ensure that the clinics will not find something that would end up disqualifying
Correct.
and then ending
You don't
up
want to
needing a
waste that time.
yeah. Yeah, we don't want to waste time. We don't want to waste money, efforts, and end up having a rematch. So
Right.
that's definitely part of it. Okay, so let's go on to some fun questions. What is your favorite part about working with the surrogates?
I'd love to talk to them. Sometimes I would say a standard call shouldn't take more than 15 to 20 minutes, but sometimes talking with them, I find myself on the phone with them for like an hour, and they are the sweetest people. To see somebody so excited to help someone and to do this it's touching. It definitely is something I'll never forget having experienced this.
What has been one of your most rewarding experiences that you've had so far in this role?
Well, I've been in the role for a little while now, so I've seen completed journeys. I've gotten to see the babies be born. I've gotten to see that I got to touch that, I was part
Yeah.
of it and I got to see that person before it all started, and seeing it happen is probably, it's fulfilling to see it happen.
Yeah. No, I can definitely agree with that. That's one of my most favorite parts about my role as well. So,
Yeah.
okay, if someone is feeling nervous about the screening, what would you say to reassure them?
I would say, girl, just text me. There's really nothing to be nervous about. It's fun. I think anything in life is about perspective, and if you look at this in the same way, you can make it fun and life-changing, and you can learn something, and I don't think that there's anything to be nervous or scared about. Just being patient and understanding and excited is all they need to do.
Awesome. Is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you think that future surrogates should know about?
Um, I mean, I guess that we're not here, that my role specifically is not here and out to disqualify people. We're here to look at records and help all parties involved have the best outcome. We want to see that everybody is safe and healthy and happy, and that this is a really, really great experience, and that even behind the scenes as a medical record analyst, it is still, like I said, rewarding and fulfilling to be part of the process and be part of this world of surrogacy.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you again, Courtney, for joining me today
Yeah.
and sharing all of this super helpful information. We hope that today's webinar gave you a better understanding of what the screening process looks like and help to answer some of the questions that you may have about becoming a surrogate. If you're considering this journey and you still have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our team is always happy to help. And as one of the intake managers here at ACRC, I'll be one of the first people that you'll meet during your journey. I'll be here to answer your questions, learn more about you, and guide you through the next steps of your, like during your consultation. So if you're ready to get started, you can apply using the link on your screen. We'd love to get to know you and help determine if surrogacy is the right fit for you. And don't forget to follow us on our social media. We regularly share educational resources, surrogate stories, helpful tips, webinar announcements, and updates that can support you throughout your journey. Thank you so much again for spending your time with us today. We truly appreciate you being here, and we hope to connect with you soon. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.